Kia ora, welcome back again. Hey, here with part 2 reaction for Mr. Kyle Morgan, who's on the Sean Ryan show. I've rewound it back a little bit just to where he was finishing off, talking about the protector piece in terms of trying to instill that within the families and that sort of thing before we let him finish off what happens there in this introduction piece. And then I'm going to fast forward to the Radisson Blu in Mali, Africa hotel incident where this guy saved hundreds of people, was on his own for hours, and that's probably as much as I know about it. So looking forward to getting to that. Right, let's jump on back in.
Okay. And just focus on the fact that, like, get back to center of what it is to be a protector, like truly in your household. And then if you think about how powerful that is to make a change, like an impact change, it's like a ripple effect. Like if you do that in your house and then that spreads, over time in your spheres of influence, and then I'm doing it.
Yeah, I spoke about that in the first reaction. Just I can really connect and resonate with what Kyle is talking about there, and it took me back to my memories with when our children were very young, kindy, primary school age, and the things that we would try to teach, and the conversations that I've had with my sons, and even still to this day. I think our sons know 100% that if anything happens to me and I'm gone, then I can confidently know that my sons will look after their mum, and they will look after their sisters, and that they will look after their own family when they have their own families, and that they will look to pass that on to their children. So I love what Kyle is sharing, what he's spoken about. It just really warms my heart anyway, to hear this man speak about this type of stuff. It's powerful, and he's, I think he's right.
Yeah. And then we're building a league of protectors, right? And then we're changing the way that we think as a cultural shift. Like it's not necessarily, it's not saying, because what I can't do, Kyle Morgan and Blue Bearing, is I'm not trying to lobby in politics to do this or that or the other. Like I'm just focusing on what I can do is show people what right looks like in this space of active shooter, and expose them to environments that I've been in. And with that, it's about exposure, and there's no one situation that's going to look the same.
I love what he's talking about there too. This sounds familiar, I think, from the first one, but I don't remember if I spoke anything about it. But yeah, the best, or from my experience anyway, one of the best ways to become confident and gain competency in something is exposure. No different when you're driving. You need exposure to a vehicle to be out driving, to become good, capable, competent as a driver. You need exposure to shooting to become good, capable, competent at shooting. You need to have children to get exposure to trying to become and be a good parent. All those sorts of things. In any new role, any work that you're doing, medical, dentistry, physiotherapy, the list goes on. Legal, you need to have exposure and you need to go through it. So his company, by the sounds of things, and Blue Bearing, will help create those environments and expose people, I'm guessing anyway, without having looked it up or without knowing what they do exactly, but I've got a bit of an idea based on what he's been talking about so far. It's going to expose and put people into those environments to give them a sense of what it could be like, what it may feel like. And the more you get exposed to that type of stuff, the more you are able to remain more calm and be more alert and more aware, situationally aware of what's happening and or what you could do. So yeah, I love what he's talking about.
And you apply the same tactic every time. It's not. It's here. It's mindset. And that's why I do protector mindset training.
What's the point of these tiny waist pockets in most cargo pants these days? The bearskin cargo pants are the only...
Well,
I shouldn't say that was the point. I get it. Like, that's part of the channel and for the Sean Ryan show. So Awesome. Sorry, it just got in the road of my video while I'm here, though. Maybe I'll try to edit that out.
I mean, you're the perfect guy for the job, especially with your career and what happened in Mali. You know, you've been through it.
Yeah.
The exact scenario.
And that's why, like, I started my company. It's spelled BLU for a reason, as a direct correlation with Radisson Blu Hotel, spelled the same way. And it's also my favorite color. And it's also a direct correlation with
Black and blue are my favorite colors. I don't mind red, but yeah, black and blue I'd say are my favorite colors. Just hearing him say blue is his favorite color. I wonder if it's sky. Mine's more of a sky blue is the color that I like. And black, yeah.
As a color with depression and sadness. And the same way. And it's also my favorite color. And it's also a direct correlation with as a color with depression and sadness. And then bearing, like Atlas, bearing the weight of the world, or bearing it all, like no human should, but we do. And I damn sure did for a long time. And
bearing.
That's not for us, it's for God. And I can say that from this seat here because I could never see that for what it was. And then how you carry yourself, your military bearing, you know, and then a compass bearing. So if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And I was doing that my whole life.
That's awesome. I love how he's connected those dots there with blue being his favorite color. He's made the association with it being aligned to like sort of depression and sadness. I didn't think of it that way. And then bearing, blue bearing, yeah, to get his bearings, your dress and appearance, compass bearing, you know, knowing where you are and how he's joined that together to create his company. That's wicked. Cool.
And now I've been in the light and on this path with a bearing I've been shown by God. And now it's on me to stay on that bearing.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really interesting to me just hearing this guy, sort of similar to Christian. They clearly have a religious belief, a belief in God, whether that's Christianity or whatever it might be for them, I don't know. But it's interesting hearing that. I wonder if he had that before, or if it's because of the events at the Radisson Blu Hotel that has shifted his perspective or whatever. It'd be interesting I wonder if he'll get into that in this part before I skip forward to the Radisson Blu incident.
But to start the company, it was active shooter, active killer, active threat. Like the Radisson Blu Hotel that was attacked November 20th, 2015. Like I was deployed in that country, but working out of the embassy, and I had been.
Don't get into that yet.
Okay,
We'll get there. I know you're dying to tell that. We'll get there. But let's start. Let's go ahead and start with the interview.
Crack up. I think I was starting to think, it's getting into it now, but yeah, good that Sean's pulled him up. So I'm going to skip forward to where I think it is. I'm so grateful that the Sean Ryan show has got these timestamps on it. So I'm going to go to the Radisson Blu, Mali, Africa, and I'm going to click in there and we'll carry on with this. And I'll come back to the other parts of Mr. Morgan's interview for other sections, but I want to try to get a reaction to this situation. And judging by the looks of it, I'm probably going to have to chunk up this reaction to the Radisson Blu Mali Africa incident that Mr. Morgan dealt with and was involved in. So let's do that. Let's go back a little bit. Play.
So we could divest to the Trance of Hell to SEAL Team 6.
Do you want to go into that? The hotel? Are you ready for that?
Here we go.
I can take a break for a sec.
You want a break?
Yeah, I think it's a good break or a good time to start going into it. But
let's
take a break for a second.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, up to that point, you can see it on the camera, 3 hours, 2 minutes, 46 seconds of a 5 hour, 10 minute, 22 second interview. Yeah, obviously I've skipped forward. I don't know all the stuff that's been spoken about, but I love that he's taking a little break before they get into that. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what he's been through and what it must be like. So I'm just pleased that, he's taking a break. And Sean, being the stud that he is, mindful and respectful, and obviously having an awareness of the impact and stuff that is likely there for Kyle. Having a break. So I'm going to hit play because I assume it's going to roll back into this after this. They probably have a long break they had, and then we'll see how we go.
All right, we're back from the break.
Okay.
We're getting into Mali, the hotel. What are you doing there?
Yeah, so that deployment, it was a deployment cycle where, I was an advisor to the U.S. ambassador or country team as a DoD, task force representative, advising on, task force operations, which we weren't able to do. And really the French were are like the only kinetic, assault force, combating, AQIM and ISIS and the, all the Islamic Maghreb stuff, like Mokhtar Mokhtar's crew and the Trans-Sahel. So from Libya all the way down, through, they've used the smuggling routes from tobacco smuggling and all these different things as safe havens to build training camps and to move people, forces, regroup. For years they've been doing it, and through the Trans-Sahel, and the fact that we allocated even one of us there for years, in rotating, it was to build a force to be able to combat that. But
wow.
Not to get into politics, but I mean, the political environment didn't allow us to operate at the level that we needed to, and then ISIS became a real thing. And back to my point about us being tasked with dismantling the caliphate, we needed every last one of us. So my mission was to maintain relationships at the U.S. Embassy and country team, to divest of the Trans-Sahel of the SEAL Team 6. So we can hand that off to them, so they could at least hopefully apply some more energy into it. Not that they weren't already in the Horn of Africa and Afghanistan, just doing a bunch of stuff. But with us, we needed every last one of us to go from Iraq into Syria, and these pilot teams pushing in to not only just do these raids deep into enemy territory. If we were going to do this, we had to maneuver on the ground. And I say all that because, for one, I was only in country for 3 weeks when the hotel attack happened, but it damn sure wasn't my mission. And that being said, I didn't have a mission. The mission was maintaining relationships.
Interesting. Yeah, maintain relationships was the mission. Probably similar to, I can't recall Christian Craighead's mission and the task. I don't know if he spoke about what his job was, but he was there in Kenya on some sort of official business, and maybe he was running some training and that sort of stuff. And then he got the call. So this guy's got a mission that's got nothing to do with what's just happened there. Try to build and maintain relationships while all this complexity is happening around them with ISIS, with drug smuggling, contraband, all sorts of stuff. And he's, just sort of scratching his head, I suppose, to a degree at some point whilst he's on task over there, advising and guiding, supporting the ambassador, trying to figure out how can we get more push, how can we do more in this part of the country, in this part of the world, with the skills, the talented resources and experienced operators that they have. So interesting.
They don't put you through all that training to then that be
it almost seems like
it. Well, I tell you what, the part that really And this goes back to like, I was exactly where I needed to be when I needed to be there. And I hang on to that because a month before that deployment, I wasn't going there. I was going into those teams, going into Syria, or like a former like troop mate of mine basically told his team leader last minute, I don't feel comfortable, wearing a suit and like briefing the ambassador and stuff like that. Like, I don't think I can do it. And I go, the fuck do you mean you don't think you can do it? Like when I found, because they asked me, my team leader was like, Kyle, I know you don't want to hear this, but I need you to do this. Like we need, this is important in the strategic, we need someone that's going to hand this off and leave a good taste in people's mouths. And like, because we can't do our job without that handoff happening. And it wasn't like a, done deal. Like we had to basically,
had to work.
It had to be worked through. And I was in that space of it being worked through, but asked to do it a month out. So as far as all my like preparation and stuff like that, like I was like, what? Sure.
That's crazy. Just to hear him say that is, again, it sounds similar to Christian. Like he was not only in the right place at the right time, but he was the only person that was, or the person that was meant to be there for that time. Same with this guy, man. He was the dude that was meant to be there at this time. All the other stuff aside, whatever the original mission scope was, the fact that one of the other operators is like, nah, I don't want to be in a suit and doing this stuff with the ambassador. I want to be doing other stuff. I'm assuming that's probably where he was coming from. Not that he couldn't do it. It's probably just more so that he didn't want to do it, I'm guessing. And this guy's team leader knew he could come to Kyle and said, hey, we need to do this. And I think he's just said, I'll rewind it back a bit. And he's saying, yeah, sure. Yeah, he's right. He was meant to be the man there that day doing what he did. It's awesome.
Do it a month out. So as far as all my like preparation and stuff like that, like I was like, what? Sure. I was a 3IC and I'm like middle management and I'm like, okay. And it all makes more sense now. Like why, why it all happened the way it did. And that's not to take away from I'm not going to what if it. The fact is like, I was there, right where I needed to be to make the biggest impact I did, or I could, and I did. And it wasn't anyone telling me what to do as far as like the command, like what do I do, boss? It was like
it's awesome. All on him. Full autonomy to do what he needed to do or do what he felt he needed to do in that moment. And thank goodness he was the man that was there. Wicked.
A reaction. Like I was sleeping in bed, like drinking myself, like, because everyone just parties over there. It's just like, oh, this place sucks. So State Department's just out there like, oh, this sucks. Let's have Vespers. Let's have cocktail hour, and dress to the nines and like impress people without like big words. And I'm like, great.
I'm sure those people that work and move in those circles probably don't like his comments in that sense in terms of what he's just spoken about there. But hey, you're going to get the truth, from operators, and they'll call it as they see it. And if that's what they see, then he's he's just calling it out, letting us know. So that's awesome.
And then I got called, a call from God. At 7:10 a.m. and probably hungover as hell. And
I mean, you went to Mali, which is a permissive environment, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have freedom to maneuver up to there is a line where you don't have like.
But you've got freedom of movement. You can run around out in town.
Yeah, for sure. In Bamako and like southern Mali, yeah.
Right.
And I've like drove all over it. But once you get past like Mopti or into Mopti and then into like Timbuktu, like that's a freaking place. And it's in Mali, or Gao, or it's like there, it from the traditional like Tuareg, like lighter skinned, Malians that, they're almost like nomadic, people that just kind of go and farm and but then that, with ISIS, or excuse me, Al Qaeda, blending in with them, they're able to, from a skin tone, lighter skin Arab, they're able to kind of intertwine, and then you build. And this attack itself was.
Have you ever been in an environment like that before for work?
Yeah, in Colombia.
Colombia?
When I was a Green Beret, yeah.
Okay.
Where, the kidnap for ransom.
These guys, man, so much combat operational experience, it's just not funny. Like, they've been literally all over the world involved in these types of jobs. Not the Radisson Blu specifically, but just other jobs in and around the place. It's just awesome. Like, there's nothing, probably the only ones that might come close to what the Americans, Delta and SEAL Team 6s and that sort of stuff get involved in and do, probably 22 SAS. Not New Zealand, not Australia, not to the level and the diversity of the jobs, of the operations, of the tasks that they have. It's just mind-blowing to me. I would have loved to have had an opportunity to work in those types of places, to do, be involved in the jobs that the guys in the American Special Forces get to do. And to a degree, maybe I should have gone and done the 22 selection instead of the Australian one after here in NZ. But yeah, it's just amazing to me the amount of operational combat tours and experience that these guys have. It's just unbelievable.
Was a real thing, and and the peak of those hostage, either repatriations or, I was a part of some of the efforts during 2008, early 2009 when I was down in Colombia, working through that stuff with the Colombian Lanceros and Batallon de Commandos, like the Special Forces guys. Yeah.
Well, let's walk through, because this was a big incident and it's affected your life tremendously. So you say it started at 7:10 in the morning on November 20th.
Yeah.
Let's start right there. Chronological order. Let's stay focused on this topic. And just walk me through the entire day.
Yeah. So my day-to-day was going to the embassy, and showing face, or showing my face and talking through if there was a meeting. There was weekly and biweekly, different DoD briefs and stuff, but there was no mission for me there. So I just kind of try to look for work, and there's some ranges and stuff. So I was able to like start at least, hey, you guys want to train? Like, anybody want to train here? And just getting, trying to get that going. And
sounds like he was on his own there by himself, obviously attached to the ambassador and advising, but trying to rustle up people to go train or do some shooting or get some fitness in or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. It sounds like, and I don't mean any disrespect, but it sounds like maybe because he's on his own, don't really have any, he hasn't got his team with him. He's sort of Johnny no mates, or Nigel no mates, as they'll refer to it as, or at least in Australia anyway. But yeah, hard case just listening. Hey, you want to train, whether that's physical fitness training, whether it's out on the range, man, if I was there on my own, had that opportunity and didn't know anybody, I'd just be using that opportunity to go train as well, get some physical training in, get some range time in, and man, get out and about and see the place. I wonder who he had to work with, apart from briefing and supporting the ambassador. I wonder if he had any other. Well, clearly he didn't have any other guys with him because he was the one holding things down for hours on his own. So anyway, that's nearly 30 minutes on here. I didn't realise that him kicking into the Mali incident wasn't going to happen till around 3 hours 15. If I'd have known that, I should have done a bit more. I would have skipped forward. I just saw the timestamp and assumed that it was going to start around there. But there's some bits and pieces that I've edited out because of the break that they had and some other adverts that came up on the Sean Ryan show. So I'm going to pause this one here, look to sort of edit and do whatever I need to do here, get that uploaded and waiting, and then I'll come back and do another reaction on this probably the next day. So thanks again for sticking around, everybody. Thanks again to those that sincerely that recommended this video to react to. This guy's incredible. Sean Ryan, as always, is a stud, as usual, with his interviews and his style and the way he does things. The team at the Sean Ryan Show, I don't know how many there are, but clearly they do a fantastic job to support this process, this program, and long may it continue. So we'll pause this here and I'll come back later. Whatever challenges, issues, struggles, trials you may be going through, keep turning up, man. Stay in the fights. You're never out of it. Go always a little further. And until the next video, see you next time.